So welcome everybody to this rather experimental webinar. We've set things up to show you some ideas of how to make online conferences a little bit more social. The situation is that if we're going to be more create a more sustainable development, if we're going to make a contribution to the environment, we really need to look at more digital conferences. The technology is here. There are many conferences that are already online. We know that, and many of them work very well. But we have the difficulty of what do you do in between? We can have webinars with keynote speakers and time for discussion. We can have roundtable workshops via tools like this, like Zoom. But what about those valuable times in conferences where we meet and talk over a coffee or a tea, where we mingle in the evening? Could we have a cocktail party? Could we have dinner together? Could we go on a tour of the city together? Could we find ways of mixing with each other in virtual environments where we really feel we are actually together and we can see and hear each other in a meaningful way? That's what we want to show and experiment with you just now for the next hour. Having said all that, we should really introduce ourselves if you haven't worked it out already. My name's Alistair Creelman. I work at Linnaeus University in Kalmar in the southeast of Sweden. And
yeah, my name is David. I live in Salzburg, Austria. I'm a university teacher, and I really like to experiment with these live online formats. And so I'm quite curious about today's session.
Yes, we've had webinars in the past. Last autumn, we had a webinar where we used a drone up in the sky to show you around the area, and we used other types of cameras to be able to do live field expeditions, for example, as a webinar. Today, we're just continuing with that sort of experiment. Somebody was saying something there. If you could
mute it.
Yep.
Mute it already.
Okay. If we can, yep, the muted sound. So let's get started, David. What are we going to do first?
Yeah, I think we should start with a break.
Yes.
And a break does not really work if we are 41 now in one room. So yeah, it's time for breaking up the group into maybe 3 or 4 each group, and we will start with now for about 10 minutes. And you can try to socialize a bit, to have coffee together, to lean back, and most important to talk about how to socialize in such a format. Yeah, how can breaks and how can socializing work? And this will last for about 10 minutes. After that, we want to wrap up, and you can tell us about your experience and your ideas. And yeah, we have some other points, some informal points then to continue.
Yep, we've got many more things to show you, but it's time to get to know some of the conference participants. You might know 1 or 2 of the people, but you might have never met them before at all. So a little bit of time to get to know each other and just talk about, yeah, how could we make digital spaces more social? Have you any experience? Have you any ideas yourself? And just discuss that, and then we'll get back together and we'll hear some of your ideas. So
yeah, we will start with breakout rooms.
Off we go.
Oh.
We're back.
Great, everybody's back.
David, where are you? You are on some nice place.
Yes, I'm on top of the University of Salzburg, and I will show you the place.
Cool.
So how was the break?
We didn't want to stop talking.
Wow.
The break was normal.
break was the best thing so far.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, so I can maybe I will show you where I'm now located. So this is the coffee on top of a roof, and maybe now you can see the castle a bit.
What a beautiful view.
And
we'll be going outside in a little while.
Outside a bit later, yeah, and a mountain still with snow, covered with snow.
See, that's not fair. Now I want to travel and visit there.
Yeah,
You're not allowed.
airport is closed. The airport is closed.
Yes.
No flying in this group, Mark.
I think it's going to be very difficult if we're going to stop flying altogether. But I think the advantages here is that there could be. I think we could expand the reach of conferences. There are many people in the world who simply cannot go to conferences because they can't afford them. They're extremely expensive, and they're in rich countries which sometimes have difficult visa application forms to fill in. The hotels are expensive, and I wonder, could we make conferences more international? Could we enable people to participate and present their papers without having to take on the costs of airfares, extremely expensive hotels, etc., and visa applications, which can sometimes cost 100 or 200 euros to process and an awful lot of time. So, I mean, there are also these factors about inclusion to consider.
Yeah. Yeah, but the missing link, more or less, is the informal part. So we would like to hear from you. Do you think it will work? Yeah, more. Could you tell us a bit about your impression?
I think it works very well in our breakout group. We get to discuss and have an informal talk and could present who we were and so on. So that was very interesting. So the fika talk would work, I would say.
Okay. Heike, you,
I think yeah.
Concerns possibly. What for the informal part?
No, my question was, that was your question. Could it work? Of course it worked to get us all warmed up, get us interested in each other, meeting people all over the world with very different backgrounds. Very fascinating. It's wonderful. Then again, I would have wanted to perhaps get an idea, is it just to socialize here, just to experiment with socialization? Or could it also have been a targeted breakout group, such as, can you discuss such and such? I mean, I think you said something. I think we totally forgot about it, what you said in the process of what were we supposed to discuss? And we didn't get to it because we introduced each other. By that time, you called us back. So there was no time to discuss, but we met each other. We loved it, loved it.
We would normally have a longer break, of course, and you can have all sorts of targeted discussions. You can create common notes, etc.
So you asked about concerns, David? So
yeah, maybe.
So one concern is that sometimes people are camera shy, not really used to talk to other people through a screen. So, and particularly it could be difficult for introverts, or maybe not. Maybe this is really good for introverts. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. One important aspect was it's so important to have breaks during conferences, just to meet people by accident and to get together and maybe consider, I don't know, new joint projects. Yeah, and this is usually not happening if we have just input-oriented online meetings.
Yeah, for during conferences, what could be arranged is phone booths alongside of the corridors where people can have small group conversations, or one-on-one on video. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Any other considerations?
Lots of good stuff in the chat, so please use the chat as well, so we get things going there. There are plenty tools, as Peter is saying, about that we can combine with this, and we've done that in many other webinars. But it's trying to get that in that personal setting. So maybe we'll show you a few ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe one idea, and I think it was Wolfgang who showed me this, is to have a virtual dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, it's yeah, you eat together and you discuss whatever, and yeah, one can use an iPad maybe just to have other people join. Do you think that could work? Or
does anyone already have virtual dinners with relatives?
Yes, of course. I mean, I have to explain, this is very usual in the West Bank, and this was separated, and it's in Israel as well, so they quite often, and in Lebanon as well. So in the Middle East, it is a common tool for families.
Yep.
And I'm also having dinner with my family, usually at least 3-4 days a week when I'm down in Falun. I live in northern Sweden normally. So with the children, once or twice a day, I FaceTime with them for dinner and so on. So it works well.
Okay.
I was gonna add that in the company where I work, one of my teams, I work in a software company. One of my teams had a celebratory lunch, and they spent the hour eating together and getting to know each other. They enjoyed it so much they're now doing it every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Could we have a virtual conference dinner?
Of course, it's a good idea.
Though there's no set menu, you have whatever you want.
You can check, you can exchange first the menu and then the wine list, and then everybody has the same on the table. That's very easy.
Yeah, everyone has to make it themselves and then show each other what they've made and how well they've made it, and sort of, is yours better than ours? I actually, I facilitated a food and wine tasting webinar where there was a serious group who they were in various locations around Sweden writing for a food and wine magazine, and they had sent each other they had 2 or 3 wines to taste, and they had identical bottles from identical sources and so on, and they did the full wine tasting online and compared their notes and wrote up their tasting notes and everything for the national wine tasting evening.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first miracle of Christ as well, you know.
Exactly.
The wine tasting.
The virtual Last Supper.
Yeah. No, it was not the Last Supper, the wedding of Canaan. No.
Yes.
I'm talking about the
of course.
jolly things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe hospitality is the best thing to start it, you know, because then people are mostly shy when they don't know where they are invited to. And as soon as they are there, and as soon as they get some wine and then something good to eat, then they lose their shyness, you know. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing I would definitely thinking about eating together, it might be nice to see each other's food, perhaps. And in the past, in Second Life, we did these virtual orgies, such as everybody pulled out a wonderful picture of a dinner and then described the taste, and so everybody was sort of joined in. But in the case of seeing each other's faces and to see somebody drink and eat online as well as smoke online, I'm not quite sure. Honestly, I'm not quite sure. You know, it's like taking pictures of people eating at the dinner. They make funny faces. people say don't take pictures while we're eating. So there's something visual about our faces that doesn't quite go with it. The food itself, fabulous, yes.
So maybe this could be a better idea, like this, yeah. Socialize like this and eat together, without actually seeing the others eating. Yeah, in a 3D encounter we recently have had, yeah, and we could step out and yeah, walk through a garden, and this was really fun. Yeah, so in my opinion, this could be as well an opportunity for socializing.
There's a question here. What tool are we seeing right now?
It is called TriCat, and it's a 3D webinar system, and it's a German product. And yeah, you see sitting at a bonfire.
You could maybe write the name in the chat, David, if you.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
And of course, this looks very much like Second Life, which we many of us experimented with a long time ago. I did a lot of time in Second Life about 10 years ago, so there's nothing new, and we certainly did some amazing activities there. Maybe it's time for a renaissance with that, or under new names, maybe not exactly a Second Life. But the problem, as someone else said earlier, some of these systems take a bit of time to set up. You have to create an avatar and things like that.
What is interesting in these 3D spaces is that because of the lack of gestures and mimicry, a kind of language has developed, a language that is quite descriptive. So it's called emoting, and yeah, that is also something which I've found quite often when discussing with people online whom I don't see, and about food and social bits, and that this informal chatting in emoting form is quite yeah, quite nice.
Okay, I'm going to show you another tool that has caught our eye, and while I'm doing that, David's going to be doing a little bit of changing around because he's going to go outside. But while you're getting ready, I will share my screen. Hold on.
The meeting is not completely informal because we have somehow an agenda.
Yes,
a hidden agenda, and yeah, you will see some more funny stuff.
Just a second. Okay. This is a tool called Spatial. I really should, wait a minute, I should put, I'll put the link in a little while. I'll start there's a video. The idea here is that you wear 3D, the sort of virtual reality visor, where you can have your documents basically in the air. You can use a cell phone. The person at the other end, or the people you're working with, you see as avatars like that, and they see you as an avatar, and you create your own virtual office. And basically you can work together and show pictures and so on, and you interact by actually grabbing things in the air and moving them around, and so people can sit in different locations and see each other as not full avatars, but you can see maybe just the top half of the body there. But as you can see in this was actually, it says shot in real time in the tool Spatial. So you can see the sort of setup we have here and what it might look like, and that you can also interact with it from a normal screen on a computer or even a mobile device. Again, this sort of tool has been around for quite a while, but we're beginning to see now real applications. And maybe in conferences, we can be having smaller meetings using this type of technology. It's interesting in all these all these demo videos, they tend to have people working with very cool space 3D stuff like this, but it doesn't have to be so advanced. I think you can easily work with design and with documents and so on. You don't have to work with planets, but you get the idea. That's the name of it. I will stop sharing my screen, and I'll give you a link to the website of that, and you can investigate a little bit more. There. Oh no! Wait a minute. Meanwhile, if you've got you can welcome to say some things about that.
Just to say that Facebook Spaces is pretty similar.
Yep.
It works only in VR, and it's a couple of cartoon characters, but only the top of them. And you can work on pictures together. You can play a game together. You can do some drawings together. And I'd experimented with this at various conferences, including the immersive education conferences in Italy. And I found that I had to, over a period of a year, using several people at several conferences, I had to recalibrate my VR headset about 10 times and to recalibrate Facebook Spaces 4 times, because sometimes suddenly it went, the table went right in the sky and I couldn't even reach the reset button and things like that. It was so funny also to have to do that next to the person that you're standing and you're in virtual space. That person dropped something from the table and she bent over to try and get to it and things like that. It was so funny. Yeah, but it's a blast, but nobody has a headset, so I couldn't find anybody to try it out with me.
Yeah, I mean, if the more expensive hardware you have to buy, then the more exclusive it becomes. And if you really want inclusive experiences, you have to go for a lowest common denominator. We have a solution, or one example of a more low-key, low-tech, low-cost solution coming up. However, David has gone out, and as you can see, it's an extremely warm, sunny spring day in Salzburg, and he's going to show us around a little bit.
Yes, but a bit windy. Yeah, the idea is many conferences have a city tour, a guided tour through the city where conference takes place. And now this is a more or less panoramic tour, because I'm on the roof of Salzburg University now, and you now see the Untersberg, and you can see the Salzburg Castle, and you see a monastery. And this
Can you speak a bit closer, please, to the microphone, David?
It's a famous monastery, but you see the church, and because the family, the Sound of Music movie, the family was hidden there because they could escape from Austria. And yeah, so this is just to show you, or to give you an idea how a guided city tour could look.
And
like.
do you hold the camera right now, David?
Yes, I have it in a gimbal, and this makes the movement smooth.
That would have been my question, because the movement is very smooth.
Yeah. But I know next time I should use a proper microphone, and next time we will have a longer tour through the city. But just to demonstrate how it could look like.
Yes, and of course, that's the church. The monastery there is for Sound of Music fans. You will appreciate that. The city is full of the Sound of Music, basically.
Yeah.
Both Julie Andrews and Wolfgang Amadeus, and many others.
Yeah. So I will go back now to my place, and I think after that we will hand over to our colleague in Hong Kong.
Well, a little bit of discussion first.
Oh yes. Sure.
Do you think we could? I mean, yes, we promised you it was a very brief city tour. You didn't. We really realized we couldn't go off really around the city. But I'm sure with the right setup and a camera like that and a good microphone, you could take people on a virtual city tour and describe the sites and give people an insight with links and so on for more information. What do you think? Some people writing in the chat, other people might want to say something.
No, I think that was a good demonstration. I wanted to see more, so I could see where, you know, with the micro, you know, with a better microphone, it probably would have been an interesting experience to walk through and give us something more to discuss socially about places we visited, you know, other monasteries that we may have seen or things like that.
Yeah.
And a different dimension could be given if we could have taken the drone and sent it up. Of course, you need permission for some of these things. Wolfgang, with your legal knowledge, I'm a little bit worried about recommending too much. But you have to think of these aspects, of course. But that would certainly, and a 360 video, as Heike is saying. But certainly a drone would give you that overview to start with.
Can I share an example from a recent conference?
Yeah.
There was an outdoor activity done by in-person participants, and we invited them to connect to the Zoom with their smartphones and to pair with the online participants. It was pretty chaotic, but it was really successful because online participants had impression that they actually participated in that outdoor activity, which was a facilitated exercise around some small area. Yeah, so we don't even need such special devices. We can do much with just smartphones.
Yeah, I agree. If you want to include as many people as possible, you have to make the threshold as low as possible so that people can take part from a normal mobile, from a normal computer, and not once you start using more sophisticated equipment and demanding everybody has certain access, you're going to exclude people. Any other ideas?
Yeah, I like this tour very much, because, however, I've been to Salzburg. It's gorgeous. I recommend it. I've been many times. But so therefore, I think this idea of having multiple tours, because although we have size is not always attractive. So smaller groups with multiple, you can go to this country, get this country, and then you have participants more engaged as well, because, oh, I get to show my country. You know, randomly I was selected, or something like that. So I would think, you know, the size, bringing it down is always an attractive option.
What a wonderful idea. I can see Nenad getting excited there as well. I mean, imagine if you could in the conference say, right, this evening or this afternoon, we offer 10 tours. You can have a tour of New Delhi, you can have a tour of Johannesburg, you can have a tour of Montreal, you can have a tour of Sofia, Munich, wherever, and you just sign up and you go along.
Yeah, this is a great idea. Yeah.
David, can you show us a device you use to hold your camera?
Yeah, I can show it to you. I will.
How do you call it?
It is called Gimbal. It is from DJI, the drone maker, and it keeps the smartphone stable. You see, I can move, and it's really stable. Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Otherwise, we've got Ho Yin in Hong Kong, who is going to take over and show us another interesting solution.
Yeah, but I think we have to tell everybody that the meeting in Zoom will come more or less to an end because we will go to another system. Ho Yin will introduce us to the system and will guide us to go there. But still, if you want to stay in Zoom, it's definitely fine to do so, because we will screen share what's happening in the other system. Yeah, we'll share the screen.
You can be in both places.
Yeah, so great, Huyen, that we have you from have you with us from Hong Kong.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Alistair. I actually recommend you can stay in Zoom, but you can turn off your audio and video just in case. The challenge is that right now my version only supports Chrome browser and desktop only. So I noticed some of you might be on mobile, so I will share my screen and I can kind of like show you kind of like what I'm going through. So if you can't log on or you have issues, then at least you can see it on here.
Yeah, so we can do a bit of both. I'll stay here in this room, and we will share screen and we'll see what's happening. But if you could give us some back, what is this system that you're going to demonstrate?
Sure. Should I share my screen first, or should I just walk through?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, as you like. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Just give me a second here. So a little bit of background on myself. So I created a virtual office product initially. So it was initially a product where remote teams, so I have a remote team of about 20 people, fully remote, and it allows teams to kind of like work together, communicate, and be a better team for distributed teams. And then I was approached by the Remote Work Summit, which actually just happened last week, to basically modify my product slightly for an online conference. And so that's what I did. I modified the product. I focused a lot on the networking portion. At least that's what the Remote Work Summit wanted. So they had a total of 10,000 attendees for their online summit, and they wanted about 8 sessions of live Q&A. So sort of like a traditional like webinar, one person speaking to a group, one to many. And then following that, we had networking sessions before and after this kind of live Q&A portion. And so what you see here is essentially what the product is. You have a bunch of small tables, and you have like a stage at the top. This is me right here. And if I want to move from one table to the next, I can just like double click, and then you can see that I jump into another room. So the moment that I jump into the room, I can turn on my webcam, which by pressing on the bottom right here, and then turning on like my video on the bottom right as well. And so what ends up happening is people can jump from one table to the next and mimic that kind of networking effect when you are at an offline conference. So we've limited to 4 people per table. So if I'm in this one table, I can't hear anybody else in the other tables. So it's just me and these 3 other people. And the reason why we have limited it to 4 at the beginning is because we wanted it to be more of basically the table is a proxy for a conversation. So we thought like, if you have a conversation greater than 4, it starts to splinter. Like you start to have, it starts to get not as intimate. And so we wanted to create an environment where people can be intimate and hang out with each other. So you can double click and you can turn on your audio and video. You can also share screen, and you can also chat with other people like in the space. So I'm going, and there's also kind of like a broadcast feature. So it's like a webinar where just one person can kind of broadcast to the entire space. So I would love to invite you guys all. And let me just send this over here. So here is the link. I've just entered it in the chat. I would love to invite you guys all to come on board. Once you get there, you can log in with Gmail, or you can just like create a password and a username. There's going to be like a quick video cam check. You may need to turn off your camera on Zoom, and then to be a little short onboarding, and you'll immediately be placed into kind of like into different tables. And it's kind of like the 10-minute break that you just saw. Yeah, and also if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Does anybody have any questions so far?
So Hoyen, will audio only work in one place or the other? Do we have to also make sure that audio is off here in Zoom?
I think it's better to turn the audio off here,
Yes.
and then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I start to see some people coming in. That's great.
Yep. Yeah. Turn the audio off in Zoom and try to, yeah, meet at Remo.
Okay, I will head over.
But in Zoom here, we'll keep things going, and we'll just have to watch what's happening a little bit in Remo.
You can stay in Zoom, and
we still have chat. We can try to be in 2 places at one time.
I seem to. Do you have to have Google Chrome? When I click on the link, they are asking me to download Google Chrome.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, you need Google Chrome. Which browser are you using right now?
I'm not sure right now. We have several, but I'm not obviously using Chrome. So I think it might be Firefox.
Well, what about Chromium?
It's just Google Chrome at the moment.
Just Google Chrome.
Okay. Those of us who are not on Chrome and don't want to be can watch and see what's happening here, I think.
If you guys have any of the problems, there is the pink need help button.
Can I ask whether we automatically spaced out in the various tables, or?
Yeah, so it automatically pairs you up into the next available single person in the whole space. And yes, it does space you out automatically, yes.
And this could be rearranged in many ways, couldn't it? You could have any sort of conference venue layout. You could have a big room for sort of keynote speakers. You can have workshop rooms. You can have small group rooms. You can have a whole virtual landscape. Is that right?
That's right. So this was a layout that we just kind of created for the Remote Work Summit, and we've been approached by so since the summit, we've been approached by some other event organizers, and they've given us a lot of ideas. Like one event organizer was like, oh, I conduct a workshop and 4 is too small for me per table. I want each table to be 7 or 8 people so that I can have breakouts of a certain number of people within each one.
Yeah, I cannot seem to actually find myself. Anybody else experience that?
Hike, you're in the 4th table. There's like a yellow H. It says 4th table at the bottom. It's like a pink table on the right-hand side, right below today's agenda.
Hello?
And I'm getting a dual audio now from the system, from Remo, as well as at the Zoom.
Yeah, and I can't close the Zoom.
Hold on here.
I think maybe what we can do is that in a little while, in a few minutes, we can wrap up the Zoom transmission and let those of you who want to go and play in Remo go and do it. So you're not sort of trying to be in 2 platforms at the same time. What do you think, David? Does that sound okay?
I can hear you. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Are we in the same room?
Now this is getting really this is getting really strange because we hear people speaking in Remo and then it's being transmitted into Zoom. So I'm not quite sure where people are at the moment.
So it's up to you guys. We can the people who have gone. Oh, actually, it's up to you guys. What do you guys want to do? I don't really mind.
David, are you there? Or has David gone over to Remo?
Like.
I can't hear him at all. He's in Zoom, but I can't. There's no.
Maybe some prototyping is maybe we can implement, but we have to resolve it.
Your sound has gone, David.
Some prototyping you won't have it.
Yeah, I just communicated to David that there are two conversations going on in both environments, and he wasn't aware of it.
Okay. This is a rather. We're not sort of ending on a climax here. We're sort of ending in a slight sort of confused environment, but that's a little bit of the idea. Yes, Kay, now you can truly be in two places at once. It's getting a bit surreal. Maybe I can wrap up the Zoom session, and then you're welcome to jump in and see what you can do on Remo, so that we're not sort of not too confused all at the same time. Zoom, Remo, and home. Yes, indeed. And it's wonderful to have Kay with us because she's off in Australia.
Hao Ying, when
Yes.
I table 4, yeah, I understand that the age is I didn't know that. Okay, so maybe it would be nice to one's own avatar or a symbol, if you could highlight that in a different color. And then if I click on open chat, yeah, or the messages, I see Paul's table, but then I see a whole lot of other people in the system. So it's not apparent to me who's actually at my table and who's in the system. And so I wasn't, okay, just a question.
That's a good feedback. We actually wanted to do that to highlight you where you are. We actually wanted to do that. We just didn't have time. That's a great feedback. Thank you so much for that.
David is back again.
Yeah, I'm back. And Hojin, is it possible maybe in 2 or 3 minutes to call everybody back from remote to tell them we want to say goodbye in Zoom?
Sure, I can do that. So you want me to tell them that the Zoom call will finish? Okay.
Yes.
Right.
But maybe I think it's okay.
Yep, it'll be nice to be able to sign off officially, and then we'll let you go back to Remo and play if you want, if Hoyin allows that.
No, it's fine. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm very impressed, Mark, by your dedication to duty. You said it's 5 a.m. in the US where you are. That's fantastic.
Well, now close to 6 a.m. with 2 cups of coffee.
Yep. It's still fantastic. Well done. You'll get a gold star in your exercise book.
Well, I just appreciate what you and David have created here, and I thank you very much. Having done similar experimental workshops, I realize the effort it takes, and really appreciate what the two of you have put together, and glad that you mentioned it in virtual team talk too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Thank you for joining. Having joined.
Yeah, and I will try to get back into Remo. I'm having issues right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, just let me know what issues you come up. Talk to the intercom chat if you have issues, and I'll be responding on the intercom chat. And also, if anybody else have any issues, you can email me afterwards or just talk on the intercom chat. I have people staffed on the intercom to help you guys if you have issues.
Yeah, I'm copying the link in case I need to reboot Chrome.
Okay, we will sign off here, David and I, and we will close the recording, and we'll send a recording link to everyone who was registered as soon as we possibly can. Yeah, final words, David?
Yeah, I think it was a challenging but very interesting session. Yeah, with a bit, but this had to be expected, or it was expected. A little bit of a mess because of being in two systems at the same time. But I think we got an interesting impression of Remo, and thank you again.
Give some feedback on Remo, or
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah. Why not? If you like.
Sure, absolutely.
As of yet, or that we can feedback to Ho Ying our impressions of Remo?
Sure.
Yeah, please. You can give me the feedback. You can send it to my email. I'll put it in again. Or you can, or you can put it into the intercom, the need help button on the bottom left. Yeah, that'd be great.
In all fairness, and apologies, Ho Ying, but we have to point out that there are other systems out there that also create virtual environments for collaboration. So that we have to sort of say that there are a range of tools in that area, but we thought Remo looked particularly. It doesn't require an awful lot to get on board, which is so nice. You can easily take part from whatever, just about any computer. It would be nice if it can reach out to the other browsers in the world soon.
Yeah, that's what we're working on.
Yep. Okay, thank you all for being with us. We'll maybe be back with something else before too long, but I hope you've got some links and some ideas to play around with and see what we can do. Let's try to make online meetings much more social and create links.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you all for joining our meeting. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.